So it couldn't impregnate the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
corn?
So that pollen would not be available for that particular ear of
So
corn.
you're castrating the corn.
That's the word I was trying to think of. Yeah. So
That's
I was a
wild.
corn. So that was my first job. I was a corn castrator. Oh,
Oh my God. I did not know any of that about
no.
corn. Corn has gender, corn has sex. Like this. Wow.
Yeah, we just manipulated the life cycle of that corn, and we were paid to do it, but not very.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is season 4 of Shooting the Breeze. And this week, my guest is Kathy Brennan. Kathy is a comic based out of Springfield, Illinois. And we met a few years ago during the pandemic. I think it was maybe in 2020 when we did some Zoom shows together. So we've performed online a few times over the years. So thank you, Kathy, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Simone. I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you.
I think the show that we met on was I think it was Women in Comedy put on by Luke Lindale.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was the show where we first met. And I thought you were great. I thought you were so funny. And how long have you been doing comedy?
7 years now.
7 years. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you started in Springfield?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I just started hitting the open mic stage in Springfield. I waited till after I retired to start doing the comedy. So it's been a retiree project.
Was it something that you'd wanted to do for years, or was it just part of, okay, when I retire, I'm going to give this a shot?
The funny thing of it is, I saw myself as an entertaining speaker. Like at a conferences, they'll have somebody that'll warm up the crowd before they get on to the boring stuff. And at a conference, I saw myself on a stage after I retired, and making people laugh. And the funny thing of it is, that's the first time I worked toward a goal in my life. I just fell into everything else. Just like, well,
Okay.
this will work. I'll do this. And so I joined Toastmasters. Have you heard of Toastmasters? Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
joined, I wasn't afraid of being in front of an audience at all. I just knew I needed experience
Mm,
in front of one
right.
before I tried getting up on a stage. I was in Toastmasters for a year. And it just so happened that a local comedy club had moved and was located near me. And the open mic was going to be starting on December 15th or 16th of 2000, 7 years ago. And I showed up for that. Then that totally eclipsed that idea of the conferences, the stand up. The stand up got hold of me.
Right.
I did really well that first time. Um, so I just have stuck with it, and I've gone through all the stages that all comics go through. I started out writing everything out word for word, um, standing up there reading the words in my head,
Yeah.
unable to connect with the audience. Anything could throw you off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. That it was just recite, like you memorize and just recite. And like
Yeah.
I hope nobody says anything. I hope nobody
Yeah.
drops something, because then I'm going to be all thrown off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're basically reading words that are typed inside of the front of your head,
Exactly.
like your own
Exactly. Yeah,
teleprompter.
your internal teleprompter. Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, and with more experience, then you learn how to roll with you still hope that nothing interrupts you or happens, but
Yeah.
you're better equipped and better prepared to
Yeah.
it won't derail your set.
Right.
you
I've
know.
memorized the bits well enough that I don't have to read them anymore.
Hmm.
They're in my head. It's just experience now, and
Yes.
you do enough 5 minute bits that you can string them together
Yeah.
into a set. And
Exactly, exactly. Because you know how because you get to a point where you know your set, you know your bit so well that you can mix and match and be like, okay, I need a 5 minute set, and you could cobble something together,
right,
or you need something a little longer. So it's either you add to it, add other bits, or you have sub bits from main bits, sort of thing. Like it's,
right.
I see it like Jenga sort of thing.
It is.
You
I
can
will.
mix and match.
Yeah, each gig I'll fit them together depending on the audience how I'm going to start, and then put them in order. I love to do callbacks because audiences just eat
Oh
them
yes,
up.
they love a good callback. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll have a couple. The worst is when you start into your second part, your callback, and remember that you forgot the previous part that you're supposed to say. So then you
Exactly.
hurry up and do that first.
Yeah.
Just always always forgetting something. Yeah, I
Right.
love the analytical part of writing. I've always done something that organized information. Uh, During my working life, I started out as a teacher, um, special education teacher, and then I was working with severely handicapped children. I didn't see myself doing that as I got older. It was getting difficult. So I made a big switch to computer programming,
Yeah,
got on with
that's a
state.
big that's a big switch.
It was, but it worked out well because of my analytical thinking. And
Right.
it's just organizing information again. And then I got tired of being called in at night to fix bugs in the system.
Yeah.
And I was raising my family at the time, being a den mother, and it was like I need a day job. So I moved over from one building to the other, worked to be a policy writer for the state of Illinois instead of a programmer. Again, just organizing information.
Right.
So the comedy is just a natural progression and learning how to communicate with other people. And
Mhm.
so
Wow.
it's always a challenge, a fun challenge
For
because it
sure.
is psychological.
Right. Do you find people are surprised? Do people act like, "Oh, you do stand up?" Are people
Are you
surprised?
kidding? Of course, of course they are. I mean, look at this, right? I've got that going for me. Uh,
Yeah, I'm in the same boat too. People are like, okay. They
yeah,
don't understand, you know.
yeah, yeah. One of my, I always get a laugh when I say I look like a woman who feels like she's cheated on her husband if she eats a Cracker Barrel without him. You have Cracker Barrels up there, but
Yeah.
y- so and it's true. I and that's why it gets a laugh because it is true. I've done that and I felt bad. I just bring home some biscuits to try to
Just
up to him.
smooth things over.
Yeah. Oh, and doing Zoom comedy, uh Helene, I forgot her name. She pointed out my that I bore a resemblance to Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, yes. I
And
being Canadian, I had to think about it for a while,
yes,
but yes, now that you mentioned it, it's
definitely same tribe. I don't know about, actually I did find out I do have some Native American blood, 1%. But anyway, uh, just like Elizabeth Warren, uh, she was encouraging me to do an impression of her, and I don't care to do impressions, maybe because it's a lot of work. And
it's hard. It's not, it's
but
Yeah,
I
just
do,
because you look like somebody, you resemble someone, doesn't mean you can emulate
yeah,
their
I,
mannerisms and their voice.
yeah, I don't want to, but I have worked it out that uh, to introduce the thought by saying, you ever see a woman you think if she just fixed herself up a little bit, she'd look pretty good. Well, I've tried. I do my hair, and wear more makeup, wear a dress, and I just end up looking like Elizabeth Warren at a wedding in Wisconsin. So, and I love the rolling laugh I get with that because just like you, I mean, at first it's like, what? And then you look at me and say, yeah,
Yeah, it builds.
yeah,
It
like
builds because
she
everyone's like,
does.
oh, wow. Yeah, the light bulbs are going off in the audience. That's awesome.
So,
That's
I
awesome.
mean, had not the other comedian pointed that out to me on Zoom, then I wouldn't have had
Right,
that
right,
bit. So,
right.
didn't occur.
How was doing comedy over Zoom for you? Did you really embrace it, or were you like, whatever, I'll do it
It it
until,
ke- it kept me alive,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah, I agree. Same.
Yeah, social, being social, and it kept me writing.
Yes.
I was the only local comic here who would do it. Um, and I could tell they were talking to each other about it because they would say, you can't, they would all say the same thing. They would say, you can't tell if a joke lands. And
Yeah,
it
I heard
was,
that too.
yeah. And so then they just started podcasts inviting each other to their
And
pod,
you don't know if
pod
that lands either. It's the same
well,
thing.
no, but they had fun doing it,
Mm.
talking about Debbie Does Dallas and, uh, honestly, it was a bro thing. And
For
so
sure. Kel
I just,
Surprise. Like,
no, no, it was a godsend. I mean, look at you and me here. That's how we met. Uh,
exactly.
I met
Exactly.
people all over the country, all over the world. It
Yes.
kept me writing. I knew if I had tried out a new bit, if I got one person to laugh, then it had potential. I
Yeah.
didn't have to have the whole room laughing.
Hmm.
Just whatever your audience is, and that was the audience.
Yes.
You were for that audience.
Exactly. But
Uh,
I thought it was invaluable because like you said, it kept me writing. It
mhm.
was social, when we were, because I live alone, and like I had zero contact, other than,
Mm.
logging on to do these shows. And it was, I think I learned things that I wouldn't have learned if we hadn't been locked down,
Mhm.
just from performing in front of different people in different countries and different in different countries or in different parts of my own country. um just how important like context is, because when you're performing in your own city, you can make references to, things that are happening in your city, things that are happening in your country. But
Right.
I know sometimes if I was on an American Zoom show, and they made some specific reference to, say, something local or something statewide that was not in the international realm that I, as a Canadian, may not have heard about, joke
Mhm.
went right over my head because I was like, I didn't understand what the reference was, and so I became more conscious of, if I had a joke that, say, referenced something that was specifically Canadian. It was like, okay, what is there a universal equivalent to that could still work, that won't kill
Right.
the joke, but that could still work.
Right.
So I've
Right.
it
You do
got
a
me
little
thinking that way. You do a little research, you do more research.
exactly the word I
Yeah,
was going to use is
yeah,
research. Like
do more
I asked
research.
you, do you have a Cracker Barrel? Do you even
Right.
know what it
Yeah,
means?
like we
I
know
guess
what that is, but we
you can
have the
guess.
equivalent.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the equivalent type of restaurant. And I think there's certain markets, say markets that are closer to the border,
Mm.
that that have those restaurants, that particular chain of restaurant. But yeah, those are things that, like, say, I don't know, just off the top of my head, say like Red Lobster. Everybody
Right.
knows what Red Lobster is because they're here and they're in the States and stuff like that. But say a specifically Canadian restaurant or like a private family owned restaurant in Ottawa where I live,
Yeah.
if I say, XYZ restaurant, you might not
Mhm.
know, but in your neighborhood, you may have the equivalent family owned restaurant that serves the same type of food, sort of thing. And I
Exactly.
think that's why, like, when you see, like, when say touring comics come to a city, when they make references to, oh yeah, yeah, I went down to XYZ, and the crowd goes mental. you know
Absolutely.
the crowd appreciates that because I think the crowd is like, oh wow, like they did their research, or they walked around our city, they talked to us and
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Making that connection right up at the top is
Exactly.
valuable
Oh
because
yeah.
it shows respect.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
That
Absolutely. And it's
you,
fun. I know as a patron, when I go to a show and somebody makes a reference to either Canada in general or to the city, like, yeah, I'm like, yes, yes, it's awesome. It's
I've
awesome.
taught a little bit about connecting with the audience with Toastmasters, and that's one of the things I say is if you want the audience to respect you, then you show respect for the audience as well. It's a
Absolutely.
two-way street.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah,
One of
it
the
makes
things I've liked about what I've heard you say on previous podcasts is how it's a job to entertain. People are there to be entertained, and
Mhm.
I've always felt that it's our job. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
we get some therapy out of it, but
For sure. For sure, but our number one job is to entertain the
right,
people who are there. Yeah.
yeah,
To bring our best, do our best when we're there, you
yeah.
know. And like last night I did a show in a place that was about over 2 hours, over more than a 2 hour drive away, and I'd never been there before. And so I like to sit in the room or be in the room as people are coming in, just to get a feel of like the demographics of the
Me
people who are
too.
coming in. Like, I like to know that, and I like them to see me, and like I'll talk to them or interact with them, just, yeah, because it just brings a little bit of familiarity, a bit of friendliness,
Yeah, you
you know.
pick up material doing that,
Mm-hmm.
and they already feel like they're friends with you
Mm-hmm.
when you do that.
Yeah.
That's something that starting out I had noticed that the other comics would stand off by themselves or be outside smoking or if it was an indoor venue and not be talking to
Mm-hmm.
the people, the audience. One of my another woman invited me to ride along with her to a bar show. It was going to be contest decided by audience reaction. And I said, okay. And then I was able to get a spot while I was going. And I told her ahead of time what I was going to do, that I would be talking to the audience members before the show. I invited her to do that too.
Right.
Um, well, long story short, I won the competition.
Yay.
I got $50. I felt terrible, so I gave it to her for gas money.
Why?
Well,
Oh, for
because
gas money, okay.
yeah, she drove, but I thought, well, it I actually made friends with people, and because they were more apt to applaud for me, and I got material from people that I talked to, or I overheard some things that people said and made reference to that, and I
Right.
used it. I was at another show where I was looking for the comics, and where are the other comics? It was a dinner show at a VFW, you know, place like that, and they're all sitting behind a curtain, behind the stage, talking.
Oh.
And so I asked, well, why? And they said, well, it's the mystique. Um,
Mm.
and I think that's a holdover from theater when
Yeah.
yeah, you're playing a character. in theater. So you don't want to mix your own personality with the
Yes.
character. But as a comic, uh, and in the old days, comics did have personas, I suppose,
Hmm.
as opposed to the real person that they are.
Right. Right. But I think
For
as
example,
comics, because we could still have a persona. Because I know the person I'm on stage, the person who performs, like it's a version of me, but I think it's a, how can I explain it? It's I wish I was like that all the time.
oh
Sometimes just
yeah,
that, very like more, still like soft spoken, quiet and everything, but bolder,
yeah, it's the
you know,
pretend extrovert
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
part of you,
right, right, exactly.
which exhausts you and makes you have to
Yes, in real life
rest
it's
afterwards.
exactly, I need a nap after, and it's like I can appreciate, because yeah, I do need time to like center myself and prepare before I go on stage, but I always have enough time. I always allot time that I can do that. Like I'll do that, I'll go in the green room or behind wherever, a bit before the show starts, depending on where the room is. But I like to
Some
be,
of both, yeah.
yeah, I like to be with the people. I like to be around the people. I like to see
Uh,
how the show is moving and how, like, what they're laughing at and how they're
right,
reacting to things. Like I like to be part of that. I understand people don't. Not everybody does, but for me, I know it's a big part of like the preparation before
right. And
performance.
you don't feel like you're stepping up in front of a room of strangers when you go up to perform. You're already a little
Exactly.
familiar with the room and the people in
Mm-hmm.
it.
And sometimes you can make like strategic changes to your bits. Like you can either
Mhm.
tailor it a little more to them, like because you're listening to what they're reacting to what other comics are saying and stuff like that. And you could, maybe, if you can make little tweaks here to tailor it more to that audience, or you could be like, okay, the joke I have about XYZ will not fly here.
Yeah.
It will not fly here, so I'm going to take that out. Or, oh, you know what, I got this bit about this, there, it might work here, I'll put that in, sort of thing, so you can make some like last minute executive decisions when you're paying attention to what's going on
Yeah.
in the room,
Yeah, that
so
reminds me of being at a contest and oh man, uh, I could tell that the younger group that was there, um, my stuff just was not gonna fly. I was just sitting there panicking, and I did not successfully adjust, but that taught me to have more in my quiver that
Mhm.
that I could use and adapt.
Yeah, and that comes with experience too, that you have like a tickle trunk of stuff that, okay, that didn't work, let me, what else do I have in here? Is there anything else I could use in here? Have you had to deal with any like sexism or ageism when you started doing
Yeah,
stand up?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, both. And yes, I mean, 7 years makes quite a bit of difference. Honestly, it is long before Me Too, even ageism. Yes, I had to every winter. Uh, I was starting to dread winter because one of the local comics would trot out that same joke about it had to do with, I don't even remember it, but it had to do with cold weather and old women's boobs sagging or something, stalagmites or stalactites. I don't know, but it was offensive to me.
Mm.
And I would let him know, and he finally quit telling it. Uh, but I did have to just point out the logic of it. It's like, no, in cold weather is what makes tits perky.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's just not even accurate.
He's telling on himself. He's blaming our boobs
Yeah,
when it's really
yeah.
shrinkage from the
So
cold. Yeah.
exactly. But he was the, and I love him dearly, and I'm pretty sure he won't watch this, so it'll be okay. He was the MC of this bike where I started, and I was viewed as an oddity. Uh,
By the other comics or by
well,
audiences
well,
or
oh yeah, if the open mics, it'd mostly be comics there. Amongst them, I like if there was like 13 people signing up, I would often be the only woman, and he would introduce me as, and our next comedian is a comedian.
oh.
Yeah.
Ugh, ick. I don't
So
know. I don't like
I
that.
know, and nothing like that happens now. Things have changed even that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a roast for a guy who was, uh, well, maybe I won't say that whole story, but anyway, the the end result of it was when, they would roast each other, and then at the end, his friends wrote out things for him to say. And they said, Kathy Brennan, it's nice that you try to relate to us on all, but you're kind of out of the age range.
Ooh.
Yeah, they came right out and said that. But they were all mostly, they were 40-year-old men, and they were drunk, and I got it. Um,
Wow.
and I quit comedy as a result.
Did
Uh,
you? You stopped for
yeah,
a while?
I did stop for a while,
Oh, wow.
but then the force that blew me into it in the first place wouldn't let me die,
Yeah,
wouldn't let me die. So I'm like, if you're a human being, you're in my demographic. You
exactly.
know, it doesn't matter what
Exactly.
age is. But I also did learn from it and try harder to relate, or
Mm.
to I just felt like it was because I wasn't a young, fertile female, you know.
Yeah.
And I joke about that too. That I used to be, in fact, I did start to be introduced as Mrs. Kathy Brennan because I thought I needed a persona. It wasn't anything to do with Mrs. Meisel or anything. It just established right off that I'm a married woman. And um,
Mm-hmm.
but then I said I quit having myself introduced that way because I thought maybe that's why guys weren't buying me drinks. So I took the Mrs. off. They still didn't buy me drinks. So well, I decided it's because I just don't look fertile. And
Yeah, I
uh,
had someone tell me anonymously, of course, that when I first started that I should go have my midlife crisis elsewhere.
oh God,
Yeah. Yeah. Anonymously, of course, because they wouldn't have the
yeah.
balls to say it to my face. Yeah.
But
So
I kept at it. Um, I'm accepted. Funny is funny.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they saw that I wasn't going to go away, and
Exactly.
I started out with a goal, which was to present women in an older women. I wanted older women to think more highly of themselves, and I want other people to, because the traditional older female comedy has been about saggy boobs and dry vaginas
Yeah.
pretty much exclusively, and painting ourselves as undesirable.
Like
People
pastor prime and stuff like that. Yeah.
absolutely throw on the trash heap. Sex is no good. So of course people are going to view us that way. It's like, ew, I don't want to hear. And I understand that people don't want to hear graphic accounts of sex. people that look like your mom or your grandma. But they have a right to know that it's still enjoyable. So
Exactly.
I the happiest thing I am about probably right now with my comedy is a bit I do about sex after menopause that is like getting an extended warranty. Because, you know, I mean, you think about it. Once you're past being able to have a baby, which is what feeling good, sex feeling good is all about, to get you to have a baby, to keep the human race going, you'd think that would just like, okay, you can't have a baby, so that would just be turned off, but it's not. No,
It's like,
I'm just,
woohoo.
it's like that toaster that the mechanism to pop out a Pop-Tart doesn't work anymore, but it still heats up.
Yeah.
There's still electricity in the house.
Yeah, exactly. It's not dead. It's not dead. Exactly.
So I do make a slight reference, to the facts. I go, just to keep that warranty in effect, you have to keep up the lubrication schedule, which is every 5,000 miles or 5 seconds, whichever comes.
Whichever comes first.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean, but I try to keep it positive. And when I do that bit, I see it working. I see people nodding their heads. I see their eyes lighting up.
Mhm.
It's new information to them.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
else is saying this.
Right. Nobody else is talking about it. And because I experienced I'm trying to do the same thing with my own comedy as well,
Yeah.
from the perspective of, like, I know, like, I also acknowledge that I look young. I don't look 56. I know I know that, but but the fact is, it's like I'm still 56 sort of thing.
Yeah.
And just, I just talk about my experiences navigating through the world as like as a black woman, as a woman over 50, and as, an overweight woman. Just all these perspectives that a lot of people don't know or have never heard before. That it's like, yeah, no, I have a great time, but this is also the stuff I got to deal with too, you know um and I make it funny.
Right.
Sometimes a lot of comedy bits, not just for myself, but for a lot of comics, it comes from pain. It comes
Of
from
course.
trauma,
Yeah.
so to take something that, when it happened, or at that moment, was traumatizing, devastating, horrific, terrifying, and to be able to present it, still get the message across that that thing that happened was insane. That
Yeah.
thing that happened was abhorrent, but injecting humor into it also amplifies how messed up it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And does something to the brain that people are like, oh, because as they're laughing, they're like, yeah, that is messed up. that is
Yeah.
that is crazy.
You
You
need to
know.
give them comic relief
Hmm.
uh, from from the pain, since we
Right.
are here to uh, to entertain.
Hmm.
Uh,
Exactly.
Soon
Exactly.
after I started, one of the other comedians said, "Kathy, you have something dark in you, and I want to be there when it comes out." And I don't know, I didn't know how he saw that at all. So in a message, I told him later, I go, I'll tell you what it is, but I'm never going to take this to the stage. Is that when I was 4 years old, my father took a hammer to my mother's head, and there you go, take the oxygen out. And he responded with, "So I guess you don't like slasher movies,"
Oh,
which was a perfect response.
because the tension just, yeah,
Yeah, I loved
yeah,
it. It
yeah,
was the most loving thing he could say,
yeah.
and I did eventually use it to drop that information on the audience and then immediately say, which is why I don't like slasher movies, and I get laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I had something similar like that. I think this happened 2 years ago
yeah.
where a man called me the N-word, and it was horrifying. Like, I've been called the N-word more times in the last 3 years than I had my entire life. Sort of thing. Like, it's insane. And so in this particular situation, this was someone who had seen me perform and wanted to date me or wanted to have sex with me or something, but he he kind of stalked me, I guess, because he went to my website and he would like message me and then phone me and hang up and stuff like that. But obviously I didn't know who it was. And then um it all culminated one night when he called me, and I didn't answer the phone because I didn't recognize the number. And he started texting me and saying, "Oh, I met you on a dating site, this, that, the other." And I'm the particular dating site that he mentioned that we met on, I was like, I think I was on it for like 20 minutes, like a year ago, sort of thing. So I couldn't remember, but he started getting graphic and weird and everything. So I just shut down the conversation and blocked the number. The following night, he came back with another number,
Mm.
called me. I didn't answer, then sent me a text. And when I shut him down again, he called me a fat N-word whore.
Oh, I remember you
Yeah.
talking about that on
Yeah.
Instagram, I think.
Yeah. And then I was just like the air sucked out of the room, like kicked in the gut
Yeah,
sort of thing. Like, how
yeah.
dare
Uh,
you?
I remember.
Yeah, it was horrible. But
Feel it.
part of trying to process it and heal from it, it's like I wrote a bit. So my bit was, yeah, he called me a fat N-word whore. And you feel the air sucked out of the room and everyone.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, I know. He said I was fat.
right.
And then just breaks open and people
Yeah.
start laughing. And I
And
remember the first time I did the joke, and I did it
yeah.
online, and a couple of comic friends, like local comic friends who knew what happened, um like messaged me, and they were like, that was brilliant. That was,
Hmm.
that's the epitome of comedy. Like, you take something painful and turn it around, throw it back, funny sort of
And
thing.
then you won. You won. You showed strength. So,
Yes,
and you
yes.
felt strength.
Yes, yes. Like, I took, instead of being like, oh, like this, I was like, yeah, you called me that.
Yeah,
This is what
we're
I've
not
done with it. Yeah.
we're not
I'm not hiding.
victims.
Yeah,
No, we're
exactly.
not
I'm not a
victims.
victim. Yeah, you're not going to get away with this. I don't know who you are. I know you're a troll. I know you're not going to get away with this. You may think you got away with it, but you have not. Sort of thing. So, yeah. Yeah, but it's just, it's messed up that stuff like that
Yeah,
happens at all.
it is.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the humor is definitely a coping mechanism. It's
mhm.
something I heard a interview. Well, Marlon Brando. I don't know if you've ever. It's called "Listen to Me, Marlon." If you ever have a chance, it's something you can find to watch. But it's basically Marlon Brando reading his diaries,
Oh.
and he made this one statement, which he said, "Humor is a choice that some children make to cope with stress." And I'm like, bingo.
Yeah.
That was me. At the first, you asked if it's something I'd wanted to do for a long time, and it was actually as a child. I remember in the backyard of my family that I went to live with, deciding I wanted to be a monkey. And the reason was that I knew people laughed at monkeys.
Mm.
I'd seen a book or something about there'd be a monkey and people was
Yeah,
yeah, because
everyone likes the monkeys
they
and they're
think they're
cute and they're
funny.
funny. Yeah.
And I thought that would be so great to have people laughing at me.
Hmm.
And also the fact that they swung from trees was cool.
Yeah.
I like.
The acrobatics of it all.
And
Exactly.
the funny thing of it is, I held on to that memory my entire life
Hmm.
of wanting to be and seeing so that's really what it was when I saw myself on a stage and preparing to do that, was getting back to that childhood notion
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate to that because I wanted to do stand-up comedy from the time I was about 14 or 15 years old. I just was like fascinated by it. And I
yeah,
just thought it was so cool and it was all of these things, but I didn't know, like, first of all, I was painfully shy when I was young, like speaking in, like, I couldn't speak up in class and stuff like that. So I didn't know how I was going to do that. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize until, almost 40 years later when I started doing comedy and writing out stuff and just the thought process that I've been doing that all along as a
I,
as a way to just
mm,
processing information. Usually when something traumatizing or hurtful or something like that happening, just that's how I processed it. That's just what I did without
totally
realizing what I was doing. You know
right.
what I mean?
It it's the total absurdity of human
Yeah.
existence.
Hmm.
We just
Yeah. Yeah.
everything is absurd.
Exactly. And I didn't realize until, I was actively like writing material and, thinking of, experiences that I've gone through or things that I've
Right?
witnessed and, trying to like make a bit about it. Like, okay, what's an absurd part of this experience, or what is, like, is there something funny in there? And it was just when I started to do that actively, because I was, preparing material, that I was like, I've been doing this since I was a kid. Like,
Right.
well before 15 years old. Like, as a little kid, if something happened, that's my brain automatically would start, with the I think people do experience that, but it's like, oh, I should have said this, or I should have said that, or I would have, if it happened again, I would do, I would say it this way, or I wish I hadn't said that, or something like that. People, I think a lot of people do a version of that, but I know I did it all the time. I did it all the time, and I didn't realize what I was doing, that I was doing bits in my head to get through
You
whatever.
didn't say them out loud?
Yeah, I never said them out loud.
Really?
Yeah, I never said them out loud. It was just in my brain. Occasionally I would write them down, like just as journal thoughts
Yeah,
or
good.
something.
That's
But
good.
yeah, not very often. Not very often. And I still have to really make an effort to write it down, just because that's how I did it. I just did it in my head for some,
Automatically.
yeah. So
That
now
that
I
was
write it down.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
You
that
you
was
didn't
my reflex,
have a
to
problem with laughing inappropriately.
yeah. Yeah.
The the first time I really knew that's how I was seeing information about the absurdity of human existence was during the Vietnam War. Family was watching TV during dinner, and they gave the statistics, I think, of how many soldiers had been killed, and I just started laughing out loud. Um, it's because it was just like, this is so weird that
Yeah.
this is happening,
Yeah,
and
it's not that it's funny, it's just like a reaction of like, this is bizarre.
it's
Yeah.
bonkers. Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Wow.
I
Oh
knew there was
Lord.
something wrong with me right then.
But I've always, like, well, not always. I've said, since, especially since I'm um actively doing comedy and like actively really examining situations and looking at things a little closer now, because it's like you can draw inspiration from things and draw out stuff. And I believe that comics, like, regardless of what level, whether you're like top of your game, mid-rate, like wherever you are, that we all look at things from a bit of a tilted, slanted
Yeah,
edge.
right.
We That's how we're able to do what we do, because we do look at things like a little,
Yeah.
we look at it at different angles that, like, regular normal people wouldn't look at, wouldn't look at something. We're going to see
Yeah.
the situations here, we're going to look at it from all these different angles and all these different different perspectives to try and make sense of it.
And that gets the laughs. That's been one of my favorite responses, even like when I was working, where I would make one of these observations and someone would say, I never looked at it that way. So it's those relatable things,
Yes.
experiences that we've all had, and then you articulate it, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I never
Yeah.
looked at it that way."
Yeah. Yeah.
They've never articulated it. It's like, yeah, that
Right.
happened to me, and
Yeah.
so
It's
that's
true.
very very rewarding.
Because I
Do you
know I
have?
always enjoyed, I remember I was probably in my late 20s or early 30s going, like I grew up in Montreal, so I remember when the Just for Laughs festival just started and all of that, and I remember saving up and I bought myself tickets to two gala performances. And I know that Jeff Foxworthy was the head he was I think he was the headliner or the host or something, for one of the shows, and Jon Stewart was the host, headliner, whatever, for the other one. And then they had a whole roster of other people. And I went by myself. And I remember I was up in a balcony at I think it was at Théâtre Saint Denis, the main gala theater at the time. And I had a seat on the aisle, and there were two women about my age sitting next to me. And I remember sitting down and we're just like, hi, but we weren't talking. But during one of the performances, we were howling so loud, we were laughing so hard. And these are strangers, like they were friends, but I was a stranger to them. And I remember us looking at each other going, that's so true. At whatever the comic was saying, and like the whole room was in stitches. And these are strangers to me. We're probably about the same age or whatever, but total strangers. And we were laughing so hard, like leaning on each other, sort of thing, and going, oh my God, that's so true. That happens. That's so true. And I think it was like at that moment that I realized like the power and the beauty of humor and
Unity.
comedy and community
Yeah.
that it brings, like how it brings people together. Because we were in a theater of like 3,000 people, and we were all laughing at the same thing. We probably all had different experiences with what the comic was saying, but
Right.
it was like a universal laugh,
Yes.
and I was like, that is powerful. That is
Sometimes
so
though,
powerful and
it
beautiful.
is.
And yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
helps. Really, not just helps. It's crucial to have some degree of relatability. Sometimes I'll see young comics just talking about goofball things that have happened to them, which are really unique experiences, and it doesn't go as well
Mm,
for them as far as getting laughter
right.
because they're just telling their own stories.
Yeah, but there's beauty in that as well. I think there's beauty in that as well. And I know,
You're right.
there's sometimes it's satisfied. Like last night, a woman came up to me, and she was probably in her 20s, maybe mid or late 20s. A young white woman, uh, came up, and she was like, she's like, I loved every minute of your set. She's like, I know we're different ages and everything. She's like, but I could relate to everything you talked about.
Nice.
Like in those dating things, yeah, it that happens. That still happens. It's happened to me, sort of thing. And I always feel good with that, because you want to be relatable. You want to be unique and like talk about things from your own perspective and your own experiences with them, but it's always good when it resonates
Mm.
with other people. And I like it when people, like, after they see me perform, they can, if it even if it opens their mind a little bit, that they're like, oh, we're not that different, we're not that different, we're not that different.
No.
Yeah. What has been best your best experience in stand up so far?
Mm. Oh, uh, I guess when I got last. Ah, you hear that? Husband's
No, I didn't
using
hear.
the. Oh, good, good. He's using the printer right next to me from another room.
Okay, no,
Um,
I didn't hear. I don't hear
oh,
anything.
probably getting the chance to headline a couple of times. Oh, I guess maybe that first time I headlined at a show, and the closer was so successful that the audience roared with applause and laughter. And when I sat down, I cried. I I was so overwhelmed
Yeah, I've got goosebumps because that's amazing.
and moved by that. Um, and a gentleman came up to me and my husband and said, "You were really great." And Jim, my husband, said, "Thank you." Uh, and it just took me right back to our when I had our first baby. Yeah, and Jim would talk about it, and he said, and then we got our second epidural.
We like, what's this we shit?
Well, because he's so empathetic that he was in agony too, on my behalf. And that was very significant. He was slow to come around to my comedy.
Okay.
We it was it took him by surprise. We retired together same day. He had a different vision of what our retirement was going to look
Oh,
like. He didn't see it coming. Well,
okay.
nobody did.
Right. Right.
So he's a homebody. Uh, he just thought I was going to stay home with him.
Okay. And then you're off gallivanting in the comedy
And then
world.
he sat through quite a few open mics, which he didn't care for. He just said, "I've heard enough dick jokes in my life." He was just really bored, and
Okay.
I not terribly supportive of it.
Mm,
So it finally is to a point now where he is supportive. But
that's
yeah,
great.
that was really a good experience. I was
Good.
well, also I was exhausted. Headlining around here is 45 minutes, and
Wow. Wow.
yeah,
I don't have 45 minutes yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer not to, honestly. I am tired.
That
It,
is
it,
tiring. Yeah.
I'm 70 years old.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
bit much. 20 minutes is my sweet spot,
Yeah,
really.
20. Yeah, I'm consistently doing middle spots of 20, and that's it took me
Featuring.
a while, yeah, featuring middling and stuff like that. But I remember about maybe it was a year ago. Yeah, year and a half ago, struggling for 15. You
Oh,
know,
you're
just coming
right,
just
right?
under, just like it's, I remember the club owner going, "You did 12." Ah, I thought it was 50. What do you
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to, because it's not just a matter of throw in a few more jokes. They've got to flow together and make
right.
sense and stuff like that. And yeah,
You
that it
can
took
you
a
can
while.
relax with it. You don't have to feel the constraint of a shorter
Yes. Yes, that's the thing. With a shorter set,
rushing.
you're gonna rush through it to make sure you get as much in those few minutes, and you have a little more leeway, a little more flexibility with longer sets. But I know even with um the long, like, when I started to do longer sets, I struggled with like 15-minute sets or 20-minute sets
Of course.
at first, just because it was new. But now I can consistently do 20-minute sets, and I think material wise I'm at maybe almost 30, not quite at 30, but getting there, you know and I know I have a goal for myself to have like 40 minutes, like by the end of the year. Hopefully I could do that. We'll see. We'll see. But that's a goal I'm working towards. you know
Do you rehearse on your own? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I usually um like put a set list together, and then I'll record it audio and just see how long it goes,
Yeah.
and I'll do it. I'm not reading it. I'll just do it like I'll hold like a pen or something and do it like I'm performing as I
Good.
record it. And then let's say I'm working on a 20-minute set. So I'll do what I think is a 20-minute set, and trying to account for, laughter and things like that, and understanding that when you get on stage, you might talk a little faster, sort of thing, that the timing might change a little bit. And then I adjust that way, like last Thursday, um, I was doing 20-minute sets for the weekend at one of the local clubs, and rehearsing, it was coming in like perfect timing. And so the first night, Thursday night last week, I have the timer on my clock, on my phone, like on the bench behind me, or sort of thing. And so I'm going through the sets, going all really well, and I'm at like the last two or three bits, and I just casually glance over, thinking it should say like 17, 16, 17, and it was like 14 minutes. And I was like, like, what am I gonna do? So the whole thing, the tickle trunk, like, okay, where am I in this set, and what can I add in,
Right.
that's in the same vein of what I'm talking about, to bring it to 18 minutes. I had 18 minutes last week. I did it, but I was like, oh, I was stressed out. Like, I was stressed out because I did that on stage, like as it's happening, sort of thing. So I remember that night I went and I added stuff in, because I had taken stuff out thinking I might go over time,
Yeah.
but I ended up putting those back in and having a few like contingency ones
Right.
just in
Yeah.
case. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have a couple. I'll do the set list and I type it out usually, and then I'll have little extra things that I can
Mm,
stick in if necessary.
exactly. Exactly.
Kind
And
of.
then I have other things like with a like an asterisk or something, that if if I'm going longer, that I could take this out,
Right.
stuff like that. Just having that contingency plan is invaluable. But yeah, I usually, when I prepare, it's usually put it together, record it, see how long that initial recording is, and adjust accordingly. And then when I have it where I think I want it, I just it's more because I know the bits. It's just like I have keywords for my bits, so I just remember the keywords in order,
Right. Right.
you know. So it's like surprise, bully, kidnapping, that, like that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to stay away from looking at notes. I've discovered, and I did that in Toastmasters, that if I have notes handy, then I will be dependent upon them.
Same with me. Same
It's
with
better
me.
to just jump off the cliff and
Yeah.
fly. But I
Yeah.
also found out early on when my mind went blank and I went up with nothing,
Mhm.
that I should have something in my pocket, or
Yes. Yes.
it's
Yeah.
like we're telling our brain, you can't remember. So,
Yes. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So it's like I try to put it at
yeah,
the like behind me, because I also like I record myself, and um I have like um a lapel mic on me, and it uses an app on my phone. And I tried, like, say, leaving my phone on the other side of the room, and it doesn't work. It doesn't record properly. So the phone has to be near me. So I try to just keep it, like, put it on a stool behind me or something. Or if there's no stool, I'll put it in my pocket, or something that it's near me. So in
so
the
you're all
event of like some catastrophe, I could just look at it. But
so you're always recording. I should do
yeah, I
more.
record. I record I have every single set that I've ever
Oh,
done
that's
recorded.
good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one other thing I notice about recording, not only your own performance, but you'll hear audience reactions that you
Yes.
weren't aware of, little subtle things.
Exactly. Exactly. Like I never decide if I did well or not until I listen back, because there's something about the perspective of when you're on stage, you don't hear everything.
Right.
You don't hear everything. So you might think like, oh, that bit didn't work, or they didn't respond how they usually do, or oh, they were really quiet my whole set. But then when you listen back, it's like, oh no, they were laughing. They did laugh. They did, or you'll find something unexpected.
Yeah.
Maybe you phrase something differently just on the fly. You said it, you used to say it this way and you tried it a different way, and that got a big response. Or you changed the wording and they didn't respond. It didn't work anymore or something. So I think it's invaluable to have it recorded.
Do you have the experience of being ultra critical the first time you watch it? And then if you let it lay for a little bit, the next time it's like, oh, it wasn't so bad. That
Um,
happens with me.
no, that usually doesn't happen. I'm usually critical, like very critical, until I see it or hear it.
Oh, and then
Yeah,
then you'll
yeah,
say, I
yeah,
really did well.
yeah, exactly. Like I also record video, but say when I'm going home after a set, the thing that I have access to right away is the audio recording. So I'll listen to that in the car,
Yeah.
and it'd be like, oh yeah, okay, it went as well as I thought, or it was better than I expected, or worse than I expected, or whatever. And then the video, I just use it to um I use it because I used to have like weird tics on stage. Like I was
Mm.
always tugging on the microphone, or I'd look down or do things
Yeah.
like that. So I use the visual to make sure I'm not doing those things, or to like correct stuff, to be like, okay, I should face forward more often, or I was looking at this part of the room and I ignored that part of the room, or maybe I was too much like a fan, I did this too much, or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever things like that I could adjust for the next time. And it's proven invaluable for me. It's helped me a lot, being
Do you
able to see.
plan motions to body language to go with your
um
comedy?
sometimes, like I did take a couple of I did a couple of sessions with an acting coach. So I sent her, she said, well, send me a set that you really like, or you want to work on, or something. So I sent her um a set that I was really proud of. And so she just helped me with, say using facial expressions, and then some
Mm-hmm.
physical things that really did transform the joke, from just saying a bit to like acting it out a little bit. So it was nothing over the top or anything like that, but like a subtle arm movement or something,
It
or
helps.
it does help. It really does help. Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
think about it, physical communication predates verbal
Mhm.
communication for us.
Right.
So
Right.
people remember what they see. It also helps me remember what I'm going to say. That muscle memory, I attach the words to it, so I
Yes.
will remember what movement I'm going to make, and then the words
The
come
words
with it.
follow. Yes. 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 Yeah, because I
Memory.
took a few sessions of
Mhm.
with an acting coach, and we did it over Zoom, and it was, sent her the video, she'd watch it, and she was like, oh well, for this, why don't you try it that way? Or say, even stuff with your voice, saying things in a louder pitch or a lower
Right.
pitch, or just things like that. So the same words, but you're just saying them in a different, with
Vo-
different tone, different intonations and things like that. And it made a difference. Yeah.
Mention Toastmasters one more time,
Yeah.
because honestly, that's something that I learned there.
Mhm.
Uh, both body language and vocal variety. Not that I remember to practice it, but and I will notice when other comics are doing it really well.
Yes, yes, same. And I try to do it, like, say with those specific bits that I worked on with her, like I'll do it like that. But when I'm doing newer stuff, I try
Mm.
to I try to incorporate, like, is there a facial expression? Should I use a facial expression here? Should I do something physical? It's opened my way of thinking about when I'm performing. and stuff like that. So
That's what's fun. We
yeah,
just keep on moving forward and how we're going to improve next time.
exactly, exactly. Because it's about enjoying yourself and still like how can I do better?
Hmm.
How can I do better? So it's I always feel blessed and honored that I get to do this.
Oh,
That
me
I
too.
finally
I pinch myself.
yeah. Oh yeah. Like I'm so excited. I'm always so excited and it's like thank God I got over whatever fear I had to say, just try it. Just try
Yeah.
it instead of,
It
you
builds
know,
on itself.
yeah. Yeah. It's like how you were saying, like whatever it was that propelled you into doing it kept you from leaving it for so long.
Yeah.
That was the same thing for me. Like it kept as much as I pushed it aside and said, oh, it's not the right time or whatever, like whatever fear thing I was feeling at the time, it kept coming back. And I knew it was going to keep coming back until I did something about it,
Yeah.
you know? So,
It's a drive for mental health. I
yes,
feel it's just
yes,
mm.
yes, yes. So, would you like to answer some of my silly questions
Of course.
I usually end the podcast on? So, you could pick a number between 1 and 249, and I will read the corresponding question to you.
52 then.
52. What was your first job?
Oh, corn detasseling. What's
What's
that?
that?
Yeah, that was the other thing. I was going to put up a picture of a cornfield for Illinois. Corn detasseling. Okay. That is corn. You have male and female corn.
What?
Absolutely.
I didn't know
Yeah,
corn had gender.
I know it. You know what? I don't fully understand it myself, but that's usually in Illinois. That's a 14-year-old's first job is to get a job corn detasseling. If they do that anymore, probably not. Um, we had to get out there first thing in the morning while the it was still wet with dew, and we would walk along the rows of corn and pull the tassels out of the top. Does that make any sense to you?
What are the
You're familiar with
tassels?
corn stalks?
I haven't been to a corn stalk up close. I've seen the corn like
Corn fields.
I've seen corn fields and I've
Yeah,
seen like the ears of corn like in the either at a farmer's market or in the
yeah.
grocery store.
The ear corn has silk on it. And those little things you have
Yeah.
to buy fresh corn. You have to get rid of the silk. But
Yes.
at the very top of the corn stalk is the tassel, and that has pollen in it. There, I
Okay.
it that way. And so if you're working with hybrid corn, I guess you want cross pollination. In fact, pollen is now it's all coming back to me. Pollen, which falls down from the tassel, um, the way the corn has sex is that
Corn
the
has sex?
it does.
What?
Yeah, each each now this is gonna be it's gonna be memorable. each, each kernel of corn on a cob of corn is the result of pollen coming down via the silk and impregnating the ear, the cob. The cob is a corn cob, and it starts out as just a naked cob.
What?
And then, and yeah, I mean, it's happening out in the open,
In public in front of children.
entire fields of it.
I'll never look at
Uh,
a cornfield again the
I
same.
know, and this might actually be a pretty good bit for uh country audiences, but they're familiar with it. Yeah, no, the pollen travels down that silk, and for some reason they want to cross pollinate. So so maybe so I bet you the female is the one that's got no pollen. And so then they want the other row this corn over there, the pollen from that to blow over to impregnate this poor pollenless female. I'm making some of it up, perhaps, but it come from kind of from what I recall. But all we did was just walk down there and yank all the, so that they would just be
Like to release
virgin.
the pollen?
No,
Or
to get rid of the pollen. I think maybe we threw them out. Yeah,
so you
honestly, I
did
don't
you detach anything off it, or did you
No,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
shake it?
We yanked the tassel off the top of the corn stalk, so it was just,
So it couldn't impregnate the
yeah,
other
yeah.
corn?
So there'll be that pollen would not be available for that particular ear of
So
corn.
you're castrating the corn.
That's the word I was trying to think of. Yeah. So
That's
I was a
wild.
corn. So that was my first job. I was a corn castrator. Oh,
Oh my God. I did not know any of that about
no.
corn. Corn has gender, corn has sex. Like this. Wow.
Yeah, we just manipulated the life cycle of that corn, and we were paid to do it, but not very.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is wild. Oh my God. Okay, let's do one more.
Okay. Oh, let's see, 136.
Okay, 136. What's the best thing you've got going on in your life at the moment?
What's the best thing I have going on in my life at the moment? Comedy, of course. Uh, I've got shows coming up, which is what I love have happening, but not too many. See, when's my next show? February 8th. Oh, I've got gonna go to an open mic on Wednesday. I'm in a showcase on Friday. And then February 18th, I've got a nice big show here in Springfield. Uh, I've got a new bit I'm working on in my mind that I need to spend time writing it out, which is I think it's going to start out with, does anyone else have separation anxiety when they have to throw out a tube of toothpaste? And oh, good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you for that laugh. Shows me it has
Yeah,
potential.
yeah, yeah. Because I'm like, I need more. I need to hear more.
Well, we've had a relationship with that tube of toothpaste, and it provided what we needed for quite a while.
True, true. That's funny. I like that. That's funny.
You ever
That's
just,
funny.
sorry, yeah, we could use another hour to work it out, but when you have the separation anxiety, you let that old tube of toothpaste just sit there while you bring out a nice, big, smooth, full one. And that doesn't seem fair either. And then you pick up the old one, you get a little bit more out of it, but then you go back to your big one.
Your big full one.
Yeah, it might have some sexual.
But explore that. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah,
I think that's an awesome premise for sure. That's a
yeah,
funny
see,
premise for sure.
it
Yeah.
looks too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I'm so glad we finally got to chat. You know,
Me
this was
too.
awesome. So where can people find you if they want to come out to see your shows or follow you on social media? Where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
I'll
And
include your handles for Instagram and Facebook in the show notes.
alrighty,
So
that'd be
thank you
fun.
again. So thank you again. This was a lot of fun, and I hope to talk to you soon.
All right.
And thank you everyone for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time.